Hello, lovely people, and welcome back to another episode. If you haven't watched the detailed version of this analysis, I'll link it right here so that you can understand what is actually going on. And I'd like to first go over the trade I took yesterday. So, this is the trade I took. Yesterday, I said price was bearish and price was likely to pull back into supply on the 1 hour time frame. So, this was the supply right here. So, this was the supply. We had this supply right here on the 1 hour time frame. And also we had this supply, which price was actually given the move from at that very moment before the New York session opened. Okay. So this was the active supply. Price gave an impulse, got a supply, a new supply was created. I got a confluence and I then took it with the 1 hour supply. Okay. And also today price broke this 4 hour supply and also breaking this 1 hour supply. Okay, so these two supplies have been invalidated. When you look at the 4 hour time frame, you see that this supply has been invalidated. We've gotten a close above it. So this supply wasn't able to give a distribution. So as this 1 hour supply. So the next area of interest, starting from the daily time frame for EURUSD, the next area of interest is this daily supply right here, where price is currently heading to. And on the 4 hour time frame, the next area of interest is this supply right here. So price will first have to meet the daily supply before the 4 hour supply gets validated. All right. And also when we go to the 1 hour time frame, we could also see that there's a 1 hour supply right here. Okay. So we would likely get an impulse from this 1 hour supply or invalidate this supply to get into this daily supply and use the supply in confluence with the daily supply to then give an impulse. Okay, so with the demand, where are I have probable demands on the 1 hour time frame, we have this demand right here. And also one thing on the 1 hour time frame, price is currently bullish. Okay, so we invalidated this lower high right here. We closed above this and price is now bullish. So this demand will be very important in this bullish movement because when we are bullish, we'll be looking for buy side liquidities, okay? And also on the 4 hour time frame, price is still bearish. Okay, so we anticipate for the supplies. Okay. So Euro USD is currently bullish on the 1 hour time frame. So that's the active trend. So it's either we are going to find the supply, either these supplies to then give an impulse back to this demand, and this demand will decide what price actually wants to do. When we go to XAUUSD, on XAUUSD, yesterday we had this 4 hour target for it, but price didn't get a supply to distribute to this 4 hour demand right here. So right now, price is heading to find this H4 supply and this 1 hour supply in confluence. Okay, so the anticipation will be either price will give a setup here to either sell, and also right now on the 1 hour time frame, XAUUSD is still bearish. Okay, so it's either we are going to grab some volume from here to then distribute into a demand, either this H1 demand right here, or this demand being created right now. Okay, so yes, yeah, we are either getting the volume from here or we will anticipate the move into this supplies right here. That's it for XAUUSD, which is currently bearish as well. So we are in a bearish sell side liquidity and will be likely to get sell side setups. Also on BTC yesterday, we had this demand, this H4 demand right here. We had this H4 demand, price ended up invalidating. We actually haven't validated this demand yet, so it's currently an active demand. But on the H1 time frame, this H1 demand got invalidated. Okay, so we delete this H1 demand right here. And also in the H1, price is currently bearish. Okay. So when we are bearish, we are looking at sell side liquidity. And where is our sell side? A high probability next sell side liquidity going to be taken from this supply right here on the H1. Okay. This demand got invalidated as well. And also on the 4-hour was the active trend. On the 4-hour, we are still bearish. Okay. So yes, this demand wouldn't matter much because we are still bearish. Okay. Since we didn't get an impulse from here into a supply and then price has then come back into that demand, we would then assume price wants to continue the bearish move because on the 1-hour time frame, a new lower low has been formed. Okay. So yes, we are likely to find our impulse from this supply right here to then meet a demand and decide the fate of the bearish trend. Okay. So right now that's it. Since we are bearish, we are looking at sell side liquidity on BTC USD. We also have this 1-hour supply right here. So yeah, that's it for BTC USD, currently bearish as well. XAU USD, currently bearish as well, matching to a sell side liquidity, and Euro USD, currently bullish. Okay, currently bullish. So we are currently in a sell side liquidity. All right, but we've changed the trend. We've invalidated a lower high, and then we are moving into a sell side liquidity. So either that sell side liquidity will give volume to the buy side liquidity for the buy side liquidity to continue the move into the next high probability daily supply or the next high probability higher time frame supply. So yes, that's it for this video. I'll be very happy if you like, subscribe, and leave a comment for me. And also, thank you once again, and see you in the next video.